So joining us now is Dr. Stephany Rose. She is running Colorado's 5th District for United States Congress. She is a Justice Democrat. We had her on before when she had not yet had her primary. She has had that and won it, and she rejoins us now going to the general election. Dr. Rose, great to have you back on.
Thank you so much. It's great to be back.
All right, it's funny the things I remember. I remember that room that I saw when in the earlier interview. Okay, so first of all, you're on a lot of lists. You're on Ebony Magazine's list of 8 African American candidates to watch. You're on Ben & Jerry's list of 7 progressive candidates to watch. What are they? They're going to name an ice cream flavor after you, right?
They are. They have asked voters here in the 5th District what they want it to be named and what the recipe should be. So we should find that out very soon.
Okay, I think that's moveon.org/Ben and Jerry if you want to participate in that. A bunch of great Just Democrats are on that list. So now let's get serious about the race. Now you're past the primary, you're up against a conservative Republican, Doug Lamborn. That district, as we talked about earlier, historically has been pretty red. So what's your strategy going in against Lamborn?
Well, first of all, we are actually out here campaigning because of the history and the laziness of this incumbent. He's not even campaigning right now. But we continue to talk to voters, specifically unaffiliated voters, as well as some moderate Republicans, to move them in the way that they already want to be moved. They just want to be inspired. So we've been out here pounding the pavement, very grassroots. We are not running, a specific technology campaign in the sense of just TV ads. We are talking to people at their door. We are phone banking. Again, it is really belly to belly.
How many volunteers do you have, Dr. Rose?
I can't even, I would say a couple hundred, about 300 that rotate in and out between the districts, counties. We have 5 counties, and there are people all over. We also have people throughout the state that are making phone calls for us. So I can't say exactly, but at least 300.
That's a people's army. I love that. Look, last time I think we touched on this a little bit too, but you got a PhD in American Studies from Purdue. You're a Baptist pastor, fascinating, and you're the chair of the Women's and Ethnic Studies program at the University of Colorado. So what possessed you to run for office?
It really was the 2016 election cycle, along with the results, the level of vitriol and lack of leadership that I saw coming out of that election cycle, and then participating in the Women's March, being a professor, being a pastor, making sure, as I tell my students, that we have to be the change that we so desire. And I truly believe no one can lead where they are unwilling to go. And for me, this is where the heart of our systemic problems lie. It lies in Congress. So here I am running.
No, I love that. Living up to your word. If we're going to be the change, I'm going to be the change. So that's actually really heartening to hear. So let's talk about what's resonating in your district. Now, look, all polling indicates, it's not just wishful thinking, that there's a blue wave coming. So in that wave, this is a district that can be won. I'm curious, with all your volunteers and the phone banking, et cetera, when you're talking to whether it's Democrats, independents, or Republicans, what's the message that resonates the most? What are their concerns?
Well, the top concern that comes up, and we saw in the poll that came out today, that healthcare really, truly is resonating for our district. We have some places, some counties in this district where there is not just an insurance problem. The problem is around access. There are no medical facilities. There are no pharmacies in one of the counties that I would represent. And so access to healthcare, developing infrastructure, quality of life. We have a housing crisis here in our district. And really, people want someone who is forward thinking and going to lead by example, who will show up to work, who will do what is right for the collective and not their own special interests. And that's what we're hearing from people. The incumbent has a historic reception. He's at 40% likability right now. So you're absolutely right. There's going to be a blue wave as well as a pink wave this November.
That's the first time I'm hearing the pink wave line. Okay, and you're not wrong about that. Women have been showing up to vote in record numbers in the primaries, and that's just Democrat versus Democrat. Wait till you get a load of them against these particular Republicans. So I think that energy is going to be amazing. And look, guys, I want you to understand something. We told you that people like Dr. Rose would win their primaries, and they did. She won it, right? And she did it through small dollar donations and volunteers from people like you. You got to do it again. Because look at Dr. Rose. She could go to Congress.
Yes.
She could represent you guys. It's incredibly doable. I'm going to give the links right now, okay? So StephanyRoseForCongress.com. But if you don't want the guys taking all the corporate money to win, then doing a small dollar donation or however much you can afford makes a giant difference. And if you're in that district in Colorado, come on, you've got great college students there, you've got great progressives in Colorado, and even if you're not, and you're somewhere in the middle, up and at 'em. You think that corrupt politician is going to do you any favors? I mean, can you even find him in that district, even if you try, Dr. Rose?
Absolutely not. It's like playing a game of Where's Waldo? Where's the representative for CD5? And we can't find him here. They can't find him in Washington, D.C. So I really don't know how he has been in this position for 12 years, but it will be a breath of fresh air to give him his walking papers.
So if you're in Congress and you do universal health care, I know that Republicans / CNN demagogue about it, but all the calls that you guys get, all the concerns you get at the door, they're gone. Everybody has health care. And so I don't think people get the gigantic difference that it would make. And by the way, it would also increase people's wages because then employers are not saddled with all those costs and they can pay people more. So, but at the same time, Dr. Rose, they've heard a lot of propaganda about how Obamacare was bad and that was what the problem is. So it's one thing to know that healthcare is a huge problem, but it's another thing to know what the real remedy is. And what's your sense of whether that district is ready for something like Medicare for all?
We definitely are, because there were so many people who heard the rhetoric for Obamacare and they shrunk away from it. But now, after this tax cut that passed at the end of 2017 and the rollbacks that have happened, people are actually feeling it in their own lives, and having to make those choices are really difficult, whether you pay for your prescription drugs or you're paying the mortgage, and having to navigate an either or is so problematic. So people are really looking for, even in southern central Colorado, an alternative. And for all of us, we know the pathway forward to lead in the 21st century, well into the 22nd, is to move towards healthcare for everyone, universal healthcare.
Do you ever dream of being in a real progressive caucus, whether they call it the Just Democrat Caucus or whatever they call it? In Ro Khanna today with Bernie Sanders, huge victory, getting Amazon to increase their wages to $15 an hour. He was the first Just Democrat. There's Pramila Jayapal, Raul Grijalva, and then you would go in very likely with Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Do you ever stop and think about that and what you guys could do with that kind of power?
I think it is the future, moving our nation forward. We've heard rhetoric for the last, I want to say 4 years, but have lived moving our country backwards for the last 2 years. But this is really a pathway forward that brings more people to the table. And if it gets to the point where we have to eliminate the table so that everybody fits, then that's what we need to do.
Yeah, and I mean, even as I did the list, and look, these progressives are uncorrupted. They don't take corporate PAC money. So they're going to represent everybody in the district, everybody. That's the whole point of being a representative. But it is heartening to hear so many women of color. I left out Ayanna Pressley, right? If it was you and Ayanna Pressley and Omar and Talib and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Pramila Jayapal, strong women leading the charge, that would be amazing. Wouldn't that be great? So for God's sake, people, go to the links. Get in the fight. Dr. Rose chose to step up and fight for you guys. You got to do likewise for her. So thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Rose. Really appreciate it. And,
thank you.
And thank you, and good luck with the race. We're all in this together.
Absolutely.
Like what you see? I hope so. Thank you. So click the subscribe button below, and don't forget to ring the bell to never miss another video from Rebel HQ.